Yeah, that's my last video for tonight. This video is called What Would You Do if it was the last day of your life? What would each of us really do for our last day of life? Last day of freedom, last day of hope, last day of help, care, humanity. What would we do? What would we choose to do to be the most important part, to be left on earth? It's a curious question, but it's an important one. What would we do? What would each of us do if it were our last day on earth? Makes you wonder, what would you do? It's an interesting question. What would we do? What would each one of us do on this earth if it was our last day, our last year, our last decade? This is the value of human life. Choices we make. The ones that are failed, the ones that succeed. But what would we do if it was the last day on earth? What would that choice be? What would you make? What's the most important choice that you would make in your life? What's the last day of your life on earth? It's an interesting question. It's not a long one, but what would we do? What would you do as a mother or a father, an aunt, an uncle, grandmother, grandfather, world leader, president, business owner? What would you do if it was the last day of your life? If there were no tomorrows? What would you do if you were sick? And you could, what would your choice be? Would you fight? Would you accept? Would you be defeated? What about war, death? What would we do? What would our last choices be? It's a curious question. And I think we all need to answer. What would we do? Was our last? That was it. It was our last choice. If you had a choice to make, and it was your last choice, what would it be? What about your kids, your family, your parents, your grandparents? What would they do? What would they feel? Feel the agony of loss, death, suffering, the mourning of death. What would be the last choice we would make on this earth? What would it be? What can we make the last choice on this earth? What would each one of us do to make the last choice on earth? Would you choose to fight if you were sick, to live on? Would you choose to give up? Do you fight for life? I mean, what would you do? Life's choice. It's your last choice. But you have to make that choice. Make it right or make it wrong. But what would you do? What's your last choice on earth? This is my last video for tonight. This is Mike Carvel of the 7 Human Being Channel. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your views. Thanks very much. Good night.